If you are born a blind man and you don't possess a Braille keyboard, Braille screen while you sit on your Braille computer chair, then consider yourself blessed, my friend. Just entirely. But if you are not so lucky to possess this magnificent attribute of not sight, then you may have seen this little creature here somewhere on the internet. It is a 3D model of Gregzilla's interpretation of Knuckles the Echidna. He's from Uganda, but most importantly, he wants to know the way. Ugandan Knuckles is a very prevalent wearable avatar in the game VrChat. It's in this game's world that you'll find hordes of people role-playing this goofy, tiny, incredibly racist little character, speaking in the most stereotypical Ugandan accent you've ever heard in your life. Such simple requirements needed to be fulfilled to play this character correctly are as follows: locating your queen and sniffing her, spitting on the devils you've weeded out, and clicking your tongue to communicate with your fellow Ugandan Knuckles. But their main gimmick and catchphrase is this question: do you know the way? And when all of a sudden this entire game is flooded and bursting at the seams with these little characters, constantly searching and asking people if they know the way, it got me thinking, what is the way? To fully understand what the way could mean, let's look a little closer at the character and maybe make some astute observations. Let's look at the base Ugandan Knuckles character. Wearing a normal size avatar, you're gonna be most likely glancing straight down at these tiny, perplexing anomalies. As they stare back up at you from below with their cartoony, doofy eyes, they remind me of a bored, hopeful 8-year-old child, looking to you with a gleam in their eye, working up the courage to ask if you have any games on your phone for them to play. Also images of them wiping their snotty nose all over their already crusty sleeve. They look very innocent and childish, only to be juxtaposed so perfectly by their deep, manly voices, thick accent, and terse demands. Now, despite their many shapes, sizes, colors, and forms, they all seem to stick together and group up at their home base, Uganda, which is not much more than a couple small inhabitable islands, seasoned with a volcano off in the distance. It's here that they gather and wait for wayward visitors of the Isles, eager to greet and welcome their guests. Should you find yourself happen across the area, there may just be one of 3 distinct fates for you who dares travel to Uganda, all of which being decided on hive mentality of the group and hasty snap judgments. One is being immediately beckoned and assimilated with the herd of Knuckles via these chests. They swiftly offer your lonely soul a comfortable spot in their mini society, happy to have a newfound brother, and giving your life sudden, gleeful meaning. Another fate is to be regarded and crowned as their rightful queen. Most often this comes from using an anime girl avatar, preferably a Ugandan Knuckles version, as well as communicating over voice comms. It certainly helps having an actual voice of a woman's as well. Meeting these few requirements will reward you with the small legion sniffing you and asking you to show them the way. The last outcome is being deemed as the devil. It seems you'll be titled as the devil if you claim to be the queen or wrongfully titled as the queen. When clearly you are unworthy of such a title, deep down you are bad. But most importantly, the little Ugandans spit on the devil. They spit because they're tired of being mistreated and misled by the countless devils of the world. Deep down, Ugandan Knuckles are cautious, hurt creatures looking for purpose and love. Now that you have a functioning understanding of the character and the roles of this little in-joke game, you can begin to understand the way. What is the way? And why are they seeking it? Being such an outcasted group of misfits, they are entirely dejected from all society for their over-the-top antics and obscure, grotesque figure and standing. Innately, their lives are nothing short of despair and misery, which is fitting. So what else is there to do than huddle together en masse and desire salvation? And from this desire of salvation comes the desire of the queen. Someone who will show them the path to glory and escape from the wretched environments and devils of the world. The queen guides and shows the tiny, misjudged, forlorn souls the way, even if they themselves are unworthy of it. There is redemption for all living things in the queen's eye, and respite for all those who are weary, an escapism from the harsh world of everlasting confusion and fear, a chance to be a part of the larger collective. Because, After all, nobody wants to be alone. But this is not always the case for the Ugandan Knuckles. So often is there a wolf in sheep's clothing, a devil in the queen's ball gown. And so when a way is shown, the joy-ridden creatures uncurb their enthusiasm and march forward, sometimes leading them to the aforementioned rare occurrence of joy. But more often than not, they've just been unknowingly sent somewhere unfit as the true way, disregarded and misled for them to form an unorganized pseudo-raid that the Knuckles aren't even aware of themselves. And who would conjure up this dastardly deed? Of course, the devil. A dirty, trollsy troll, unfit to even wear your projectile saliva. But you must spit on them. It is the only suitable recourse. Revenge and retribution are far too sweet a candy to turn your nose from. You must spit. Spit on them. But even if their annoyingly large numbers and obnoxious loudness take over the entire area for a short while, it always seemed to be that the current residents were happy to see them despite the raid, have a little chuckle and interact with them before the Ugandan Knuckles return home to Uganda once again, ever in search of the way. They've brought happiness in their wake, and they left with heart. And they left their heart. They have two hearts. And so the cycle repeats anew. But their tiny fighter spirits never give up. Even if time after time they're persuaded and misled by the devils of the world, there's always hope that there will be a true queen to guide them to the promised land. A messiah for all Ugandan Knuckles to sniff for all of time. A pure, unadulterated, wholesomely whole being of boundless cheer and clarity. And after joining in on the festivities for some time and studying several and admittedly hilarious videos and analyzing everything I've come to know about the way, I've come to a conclusion as to what the way could be. And it's this: happiness. I think it's all up to your own personal interpretation, sort of like a heaven of sorts, but it's definitely a happiness. It's something to strive for and fight towards, endlessly. With all that you've got, the way has always been before you, right under your noses, waiting for you to grab onto it and never let go. It is happiness. Happiness is the way. It will always be the way. Even if you look within yourselves, the Ugandan Knuckles are the most perfect representation of what's inside of us. All of us. It's been so simple. We all want to be happy. We all want a queen. We all hate the devil. We all gather with the other husks of the world for camaraderie. We all assimilate the lost. We all inadvertently annoy people. And we all want to find the path in life. We all want to know the way. And I think it's something beautiful to see what our most basic desires boil down to. It's this. This is all of us. And we are all this. And it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. But there's just one problem. We'll never find our happiness or salvation. And here's why. You must have Ebola to know the way. And I live in North America. I live in Canada. There's no Ebola up here. How am I supposed to be happy? There's only sadness. And it's so cold. And there's no friends. There's not even a husk. Not even a husk to rub up against. So there you have it. Anyway, did I miss any important or crucial components of the Knuckles character that's worth mentioning? If happiness isn't the true ultimate way, then what do you think is? How incredibly unfunny and un-PC is this ridiculous meme, and how have I contributed in the slightest to all the world's problems? Be sure to holla at ya boy and let me know. In the meantime, I'll be playing VrChat, doing some further investigating on what the way could be. Ah, yes, this most certainly could be the way. I may have to rethink some of my statements. Have a good night.
We're talking away, but we don't know